Hey, badass business owners, welcome back to the show. Today I want to talk about debt. Oh my gosh. Those of you that have listened to the show know I love businesses to be debt free, but I am seeing a huge swing lately of people that I'm helping that have growing debt in their business. Now, you can have debt for a couple of different reasons. It could be the fact that you got that shiny credit card for $10,000 and it just burned a hole in your pocket. It could be that you have taken out debt because you needed to expand your business and you thought that was the only way that you could expand your business. Or it could be that you got caught up during that whole COVID timeframe and all of those loans that were going out, and you signed up for all these different types of loans only to discover that some of them were going to be forgiven and other ones are going to need you to pay them back. And guess what? Now they're knocking on the door and it's time to start paying back these loans. Whatever type of debt you've gotten yourself into, we need to talk about it. Listen, I get it. Sometimes going into debt sounds like a good idea, but here's why going into debt is not a good idea. Because you have to pay it back. And when you pay it back, it comes out of your profits that the business is making. And if you're barely making it now, what makes you think you're going to have money left over to be able to pay that debt? And it sounds good because you're thinking, oh, if I go out and I get this extra truck or I get this, I'm going to be able to create all these extra sales. Well, let me bust this one really early on inside of this podcast episode, because let's just say that your business creates a 10% bottom line. You're already struggling. You're not making as much money as you want. You only get 10%. And let's say you take out debt that's going to cost you $500 a month. Did you know that your first $5,000 in sales is going to go towards paying that debt, not paying anything else? You might pay your cost of goods and it's going to pay for a little bit of its part of the expenses of your business. But because you only make 10% of $5,000 is $500. So your first $5,000 that you go out and hustle for is going to go towards this debt. You already start off in a hole that you have to start climbing yourself out of. The problem with debt is it sounds good in the moment. And what happens is sometimes we get desperate and we start to panic because we need the money. Remember that $10,000 credit card that I was telling you about? A lot of times when you open up your bank account, if you don't know what I'm talking about, sometimes the banks will go, oh, do you need a business credit card? And lately, I just say no. I did that on my first one. But after that, any other business accounts I've opened, I'm like, no, I don't want that credit card, because I wanted to force myself to stay as debt-free as possible. Because when you have that credit card, it is way too easy to say, I really need this or I really want this. I can just put it on the credit card and pay it off. But the problem is, we all know this, the minute you start having a credit card and the minute you break the I'll just use it one time, what happens? That $10,000 card might go from $100, $200 because we're trying to use it for points or to use that one item. And next thing you know, we wake up, it's sitting at $5,000, $7,000, $8,000, if not the full $10,000. It's way too easy to get sucked into it. And even if you're using it for points or gas, because sometimes people go, oh, I'll use it for gas and I pay it off every single month. But that first month that you come into where you don't have the $300 to pay the gas, but you can pay the $50 payment on that credit card, you start a dangerous trend of paying just the minimum balance versus paying off that full $300 of what you used in gas, like you used to do when you could do it. You start something that soon becomes a new habit versus keeping the old habit. Debt is a dangerous thing. I'm going to continue to preach to you guys that you stay debt free. But let's face it, sometimes the horses are out of the barn and we're already in debt. Now what do we do? Well, now you have to have a plan. You have to tell yourself that I need to attack this debt just like I would want to attack the debt in my personal life. Because our whole goal is, how do we become debt-free? And you want your business to be debt-free. Now, there's people out there that will argue that you need to leverage other people's money in order to grow your business and everything else. But that's not the vast majority of you. Those are for more sophisticated, where businesses are really growing at a much higher clip and taking bigger leaps. Most of you aren't at that stage yet. That doesn't mean you're never going to be there. And I'm not saying you're not sophisticated. What I'm saying is your particular business is not ready for that type of growth. So therefore, you do not need to be carrying any debt in your business. Matter of fact, if you look at the most common millionaire that is out there, they are two things. They are small business owners who have built these wonderful businesses. And guess what? They've also built them debt free. Here's another weird statistic that I love. When I read this, it was amazing to me. If you look at Visa, MasterCard, American Express, the three biggest debt people out there that sell us debt, they are debt-free businesses. They don't even have debt because they understand the power of compound interest working for you and against you. And debt works against you because you're paying more money to somebody else versus you having that money in your own account and making you money for your potential wealth. Remember all those millionaires I was talking about? Yeah, they're debt free. The reason they got to become millionaires is because they kept taking in that money and letting their money work for them to build more equity in their businesses and for their businesses to grow. Yes, I'm huge when it comes to this whole debt free. But once again, like I started to say earlier, you wake up and you're already in debt. You need to have a plan. You need to say that, okay, my minimum payment is $50, but I'm going to take my retained earnings. And yes, my retained earnings go to three things, right? My retained earnings go to taxes. My retained earnings go to reinvesting back into the business. And my retained earnings goes to the owner's draw. You're going to have to make a decision because you can't mess with the tax money, but you can take some of those retained earnings and you can take some of that money that goes to you as the business owner and start applying it to that debt. So instead of making a $50 payment, maybe you can make a $100 payment or a $200 payment and start knocking out that debt faster when you have some of those months. That doesn't mean to ignore the trends of your business. If you need some of that money later, you need to be able to continue to save it. But I'm saying that as you find little bits of money, you need to throw it at that debt because the sooner you get that debt paid off, the sooner you can continue to grow your business because instead of you making that $50, $100 payment to some debt, you're now putting that back into the owner's equity and or the business's profits because you're able to grow the business again debt free. Now, for those of you that have gotten yourself into a world of mess, and I'm telling you, I have business owners right now that are sitting at $50, $80, $100, $200,000 of debt that they backed themselves into by whatever means that they got themselves there. I'm not going to sit here and lecture you. I think you've already learned your lesson as far as taking out more debt. I think the biggest thing is to just know that it needs to be built in to your business model that this is part of your expenses that need to be paid every single month and that your business is basically not worth anything until that debt is paid off. Because remember, the business's worth is going to be its assets minus its liabilities, and that's going to give you what equity is left in the business. And when you're sitting at $80,000, $200,000 in debt, if you don't have that cash on hand, your business is not worth anything to anybody else because that debt has to be paid off. So keep that in mind. You're just going to have to plug away at it. And you're going to have to make a commitment to yourself that you're never going to go in debt again. And just do the snowball method if you want. Whatever method works best for you, you need to be able to just tackle that debt and just know that it's something you're going to have to put there and continue to pay monthly, but don't make the minimum payments. The minimum payments are never going to get you paid off. You ever get those statements in the mail where it says if you make this payment, you can pay it off in 3 years, but if you continue to make this payment, it's going to take you 15, 20 years? Yeah, we don't want that 15, 20-year version of this. We want the 3 to 5 year version of how do you get yourself out of debt? How do you continue to plug money at that? And as the business grows, just know that you're going to have to commit to knocking out a lot of that debt in order to get it. Because I'm going to tell you, for most people, when they really look at that debt, they never should have bought what it is that they bought. And they'll tell you that. Let's just say you spend money on a truck because you want to grow your business. Well, you forget that a lot of times if you add another truck, it also means you need to add the crew that's going to do it. And yes, you're going to be able to do more jobs, but you've also added more employees to the mix and your profit actually starts to go down and you don't make as much money as you thought you were going to make just because you added another truck, because your expenses go up because of that other truck, because it's more than just the truck. It's all to fill the truck up with any parts, any equipment, any people, the gas, the wear and tear on the vehicle. Trust me, the truck is more than what it is. You're much better off saving up your money and getting a $10,000, $15,000 truck versus trying to get a brand new $80,000 truck. you've got to be smart about how you do it and look at things that how can you do this debt free versus going into debt. I know I'm throwing a lot of different things out there when it comes to debt, but it's really important that you slow down before you go into debt and ask yourself, how am I going to get out of this mess once I get in there? Yes, it solves immediate need that I have, but what's going to be my plan for getting it paid off? How do I get out of this debt quickly versus sitting on it for a very long time? And a lot of it starts, honestly, with knowing what your bottom line numbers are. That if your percentage of your bottom line is 20%, then you can figure out that how much do you need to do, because it's going to take you forever to be able to pay that debt off. Now, I'm not going to keep lecturing you, so don't worry about it. Listen, just try not to go in debt to grow your business. Retained earnings, use the money that you're making, save it up, and then go buy whatever it is that you need. It's a slower growth, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a more profitable growth if you do. So many people will tell you when they start getting into debt that that's when they saw their money go down dramatically, not just because they had to make the payments on the debt, but it just really slowed their momentum of what they needed. And they wake up and yes, they've built this great business. Yes, they've got these sales that are outrageous. They're well known in the community, but they're also up to their eyeballs in debt because they have so much that they owe. And I will tell you, there's a lot of times that you can look at a business and be in complete awe of them, but what you don't know is that behind the scenes, they are bleeding money. They're not making as much money as everybody thinks they are because they use debt in order for them to be able to grow that business. So yes, they went from 1 truck to 3 all of a sudden. And yes, all of a sudden they're all over town and you can see them everywhere they go. But what they don't tell you is that profit that they had before they did it was much higher than the profit that they have today. They don't really make as much money as they want. So don't chase the Joneses. It's the same thing that if you work for a corporate America, a lot of people who think that they're millionaires, they're not millionaires. Honestly, assets, money, your liabilities will tell you if you're a millionaire. And a lot of those people out there that you think are making all kinds of money, they're really not. They might have $1 million in sales, but they're only making 10 grand. Trust me, that's nothing. $1 million of sales. I'd rather have a $500,000 business where they're making $200,000 versus having $1 million business that only makes 100. You just got to be smart about the money that you spend in your business, and don't be so quick to try to chase those sales and go into debt to be able to chase those sales. It's just not worth it. I'm not passing judgment. If you had to take out loans to be able to keep your business open and thriving and surviving during COVID, I get it. But you also need to have a plan to get out of it so it doesn't haunt you for the rest of your business's life. We'll talk more about debt in the future and we'll keep going over different things. And if you have some great ideas that you want to share with other people when it comes to getting out of debt in your business, please make sure you share it in the show notes. Oh, and before you go, if you want to learn your business numbers better so that you can have a better understanding of how debt is impacting your business, don't forget to sign up for the Know Your Business Numbers course that you can find in the show notes. It's very affordable and it will help you understand your business numbers better so you can determine if you need to spend money or not. Please do not go into debt to buy this course, but it is very cheap. So it's going to be updating and improving over the next year, and the price will probably go up. But if you purchase the course today, you'll get all the updates in for the same price that you've already paid. You have lifetime access when you do it. So with that, I am out of here, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Don't go into debt. Bye for now.